All right, Mr. Tito.
Hey, good evening.
Uh,
How are you?
I'm good, my friend. How you doing? You all right?
All right, thank you.
Good. Day's been okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming to an end now, so very good.
Awesome. Welcome there. I see somebody's on there joining us. Thank you so much for jumping on, sir. Good to have you. Appreciate you taking out the time to join us. Um, I believe it's going to be an awesome conversation this evening. I am not sure who else is going to join us, but well, we're still gonna have fun. And we're still gonna be stretched. We're still going to learn and see how far this conversation is going to take us. Um,
Really.
you say the family is doing okay on your side, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah,
everybody's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Back to school already, and I think it's
Just
what.
one left. Just one left. The other
What?
one will go back tomorrow. So
Oh, okay. So that the
uh,
rest of them are
yeah.
already.
Mm.
Yes, sir. So now we can at least get back to the usual routine and do
Mm.
what we. I know it sounds
Mm.
it
Absolutely.
sounds it sounds bad, but it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I do a couple of days in the office, so and the missus works permanently from home, you
Okay.
know. So that's not very good for her because when I'm not here, then the kids are not here as well. It's-
Ah,
she spends the whole day on her own, most of the day, until 3:15 when she goes to get them. But
to
it's
get them, yeah.
trust me, it's not easy to be in this house on your own.
Yeah. It can become a bit. I mean, just it becomes lonely, man. It's like, is there anybody I can talk to?
Yeah. Someone
Yeah.
pisses you off somewhere, you need to walk out and say, "Oh, look at what's happened." And someone says, "Calm down. It's okay. There are crazy people out there. Just ignore." If
Yeah.
you reason to a person like that, then it sort of complicates the day. But yeah, that's normal
Absolutely.
life. We have to be exposed to that.
Absolutely. So this evening, I would like us to, or I would like to steer the conversation in towards us talking about success.
Okay.
Um, I think talking about success is something that should be a common subject. It should be common communication because a common topic rather.
Yeah.
Because I believe that everything that we do, whether it's in our family, whether it's in your organization, whatever, it's to steer you towards success.
Yeah.
uh, I believe I know sometimes we say, right, I do this because I enjoy it, I do that because I enjoy it, but I don't think enjoyment is a primary objective. It's because I want to be successful in a specific area. So now I guess to talk about success is it can become something that I guess objective, if you like, because we don't measure success in all of us. We don't measure success in the same way,
Yeah.
because what will be deemed as success to me might not be deemed as a success to you. So I think success is personal.
Yeah.
Every Each and every one of us, we have to define success for ourselves and not fall into a trap where you allow somebody else to define success for you, because obviously we want to, and obviously because we know that our lives is not, you're not just a father, you're not just a husband, you're not just a businessman. There are so many different areas to our lives, and I guess being successful in one area, whatever way you or I would like to measure that, does not mean that we are successful in the other area. In fact, I think what we sometimes do, uh, we we neglect one area at for the expense of another area, thinking that the one area, if I am successful in one area, we think, all right, it compensates for the other area, but I don't think that's how it works. Because if I for example neglect my family so that I can be successful maybe in the area of or in my career, or make a bunch of money, um I, I don't know whether maybe some person will equate that to success. That's why I'm saying each and every one of us needs to define success for ourselves. Now, my thinking around this specific topic, I think it can be a good place for discussion, because it just depends on everyone's perspective. But I think there are certain areas. Um, Let me put it like this: if we are, say for example, and I take care of the financial part of things in our lives, I think it will kind of like cover so many areas. Um, let me explain what I mean by that. Say for example, if I make more than enough money, or I have the business brings more than enough money, where I don't have to be in a routine, a 9 to 5 or a 8 to 4 or whatever the case might be, because now it frees up my time, isn't it? Because there's more than enough for me to spend time with my family. There's time to hang out with friends. There's time to travel, whatever the case might be. There's
Yeah.
time to even go to the gym. There's time to go for a run. Why? Because I think for most people, our time is consumed by work. Our time is consumed by, your my life, your life is sold out to somebody else, because we need to be there so that we can bring in the money. So I think if we can take care of the money part of things, I think it will fix so many areas. You will be able to take the wife out 5 days a week for a meal without even blinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that will kind of like help with our relationships, just in general, uh,
Hmm.
because you will be able to call a friend, because you're not too tired, because maybe you come from a night shift, or you come from a very long day of work. Why? Because there is enough money. Now,
Yeah.
another area. So what I'm basically saying is, I believe when we cover finances, um, our success will be pretty much. I don't know what's the word I can use. Uh, y- it's easier to then kind of like work towards success in every area of our lives, if I
Hmm.
can put it in that way. Now, but what I want to focus on this evening, or the direction I would like us to have the conversation towards, is talking about the importance of knowing how to build great relationships. Because I do believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that we cannot measure success without having great relationships. What I mean by that is, everything that we do, or most probably 90% of stuff that we do, that steers us towards success, involves people. And most of the time, maybe I'm just assuming, but I'm just giving you my perspective on this. Most of the time, the reason why we fail in any specific area is because we lack in people skills. We lack in the ability to know how to handle our relationships. Maybe how to handle my relationship with my wife appropriately, how to handle my relationship with my kids appropriately, with my friends, call them only once a year. And then you're wondering where they've all gone. Uh, know how to manage the relationship with your colleagues. I'm talking about just relationships in general. I believe if we really want to build a life, and not just building a life, but building a life that takes us in the direction of success. Um, hey, good evening, sir. Monet, is that you, my friend? Good to see you, bro. Um, and for us to be able to steer our lives towards success, um, we cannot ignore the importance of relationships. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, that easy. All right. Good to see you, bro. Um, we cannot ignore the importance of friendship of relationships because it is paramount. Now, I guess the first question uh, that I kind of like want to throw out there to us, Mr. Rabi, you can also, if you have anything to add, please do so. We'll appreciate your input. The very fact that you are joining us means that you are part of the conversation. Yes, sir. So as I was saying, we are everything that we do is directed towards us building a life, and not only building a life, but building a successful life. Um, uh, but let me ask this: what does success look like to you? I think maybe that's a good place to start. Um, if you have to measure success, what does it look like from your perspective? Sir?
Right. So it is a very, very, very popular topic, and like I
Absolutely.
said, it's all about who is talking about it. It's not there is no general description of success, but I believe that we are all called for a purpose in our lives. Especially if you're a Christian, then you understand that we are created for something. And even if you're not a Christian, who goes out there to make a car without thinking about what the car is going to do? So if you're a being that's been made,
Mm,
even if you believe you've been made by your parents, there's a purpose
yeah.
that's attached to that thing, you know.
Yeah.
So if we come from that standpoint, then success to me be totally different from what success means to the other person. Because some
Yeah.
people are called to sing,
Yeah.
some people are called to fight wars, some people are called to make peace, some people are called to
Yeah.
sweep and clean, and so on. So for me personally, success to me is living in alignment with what your calling is, because that's where the actual peace comes from. Sometimes you worry and wonder how some people are doing certain jobs. Those jobs are not paid well at all.
Yeah.
And if you're not properly informed, or if you think superficially, it's very easy to then think, "Oh, this guy, what's wrong with him? Every day he's turning up and doing this job. It's only £7 an hour.
Mm,
What's wrong with him?" But then he gets to talk to people. That reminds me, I we were going to a service to support my daughter. One of the he was getting an award, or there was something they were doing at the church, so we were going together. We came across this gentleman who was a photographer,
mm,
and he liked my wife's attire, and he said, "Oh, that's really nice. Can I
mm,
please take a picture?"
mm,
In a normal jovial way, we say, "Well, why not? Why not?
mm,
It's Are we going to get the picture? Or are we just going to take a picture and not see it?" So he said,
mm,
"No, don't worry. I'm going to send it to you. Just put your email address here." And he took so many amazing pictures of us.
mm,
And then a few days later, he sent us an email that had all the pictures and so on. So when he finished, we started talking, and this guy, an amazing photographer. By the way, some people earn millions doing that.
mm,
He said to me, I don't even have a smartphone because I don't need it. I do this because it gives me, I don't even have a car as well.
mm.
All I have is a pager to tell my wife that I've arrived where I'm going to. This is like last 2 years. I'm not talking 1980 or something. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
And he doesn't have a car. So we got into conversation, because when I find people who are intriguing like that, I try to find out, because there are reasons. There's a lot of wisdom in
Mm,
people's choices and decisions that can be
yeah.
shared. He said,
Yeah.
"You know what? I enjoy talking to people. If I'm in my car, I just get into my
Mm,
car and I drive from point A to point B. And I don't get to speak to anybody. But what gives me joy is that ability to speak to people."
mm.
Now, you see, when I'm looking at somebody who is like that, and I'm thinking, why would you leave such a far place and you don't have a car? What's
Mm.
wrong with you? And why would you just come out in the streets and you're just taking pictures of people? You're not even charging anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
You know, but that man, in my view, is living in alignment with what his calling is.
Hmm.
He's at peace. He doesn't need the money that I need. And by the way, all the monies that I've needed and all the monies that I've got, how much joy has it brought to me? How much peace has it brought to me?
Hmm.
So success is that point in life when you begin to live in alignment with your personal calling. And that's what brings peace, that's what brings good health, and that's what brings prosperity.
Awesome. Awesome. Man, and I think there's not really a right or wrong when it comes to defining success. Like what we said earlier, it's just based on where you're at, where I'm at. Because uh, if I have to kind of like give you a perspective on what success looks like to me, and just within basically in a sentence, is me being able to grow into the best version of who I'm meant to be. Why is that? Because wherever I'm meant to uh, end up, which means it's a higher level, is bigger, it's larger than where I am right now.
Yep,
So which means for me to be able to step into that place where I'm meant to be, it will involve growth. And obviously growth is something, it's not something that just it doesn't comes to an end. It's we always growing, we're always changing, and we're always evolving. So which means right now I'm successful, even though somebody else, Kendrick, yeah, what? Yeah, because I have a growth mindset.
yep,
And the thing, there is always room, because I don't think that success is necessarily a place that you reach. No, it's not, because as soon as I reach a certain destination, somebody moves the bar, or I move the bar rather, and then we have to keep on going. So what deemed to be seen as a success at that time, now I'm just all right. I'm still going. I'm still pushing.
yep,
So, and I think sometimes we can overcomplicate what success really is, because for one person, for one mama, it can be just to bring out my kids, to go to university, or to become respectful individuals in society, that take people, that keep taking the rightful place. Then feel, I've done my job, I'm successful, Jesus, I'm ready to go.
yep,
That's it. That's what success might look. That's what success may look like to a mama, or to somebody. Feel like, as long as my business is bringing in money, I know I'm successful. If I can pay my bills, I'm successful. So, but obviously, what I want us to talk about this evening is, I've one of the reasons why I really want us to kind of like dig into this, because uh, being able to manage relationships is a skill. It's not something that you just fall into, and like, just because you desire to have better relationships, it's something that we have to put effort into it. um, so the first couple of things that I want us to look at is, and just ask ourselves the question, why do we fail, why we fail to understand people, because I think, um, one of the reasons why we fail in relationships, because remember now, the direction that we're coming from is understanding people, and knowing how to work, and to deal, and to negotiate with people, and have a proper relationship, having a proper relationships. If we fail to have that, it is detrimental to our success. So that's the angle that we are coming from. And 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 it's because sometimes we fail to understand people. Okay. Now there's a couple of things that I want to highlight, and the first one is the reason why we fail to understand people is because um, the first one is because of fear. We just because whenever we operate in a spirit of fear, because then what we do, we feel there is something that we need to protect. There's something that we're not giving our all, because if you give others the benefit of the doubt and replace fear with understanding, because then everyone can work together positively. But if I'm always on the guard, if I'm always suspicious, if I'm always like thinking somebody's coming to take something from me, um, it means I will always be closed up, isn't it? I will not be free to number one, to be who I am, because I'm pretending, because I feel like I need to show you a certain kind of person that I am. Why? Because you might not like me, so I'm just pretending to be something that I'm not. Um, and I think that's the very first thing, because uh, the question that you and I need to ask ourselves is, how good are you at giving others the benefit of the doubt? Do you always feel like people are out to get you? People are out uh, to use you or to abuse you? Um, these are the kind of questions, because as soon as we enter a relationship with fear, it already put us on a back foot, and it leaves us in a disadvantage. So that's the first one. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to add on this one before I move on to the next one, sir.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think for me, it's about the pureness of the intention
Mm,
that I really worry and bother about. If I find myself in a situation where I need to create a relationship,
mm,
I try and make sure that I force myself to have a very pure intention.
yeah.
By pure intention, I mean
Mm,
intention not to cheat the other person,
yeah.
intention not to take advantage of other people, intention not to dupe them of whatever it is that they have, but creating that intention of being beneficial to each other, forming a force in one way or the other to conquer one challenge or the other.
Hmm.
So when I get myself to that stage, then I don't have anything to worry about, because I believe the pureness of your intention
Yeah.
protects you from any harm in a
That's it.
relationship.
That's it. And I guess that brings you at a place where you can just be transparent, because
Yeah,
you don't have anything to hide. It's just like, all
yeah,
right, there's a connection.
yeah,
We let's see how far we can take this relationship.
yeah, and,
And it becomes something that just flows. It becomes
yeah.
something that.
And sorry, there is also that consolation that comes
Mhm.
when things go wrong. You
Yeah.
know, when you wanted to take advantage of somebody and then they ended up taking advantage of you,
Hmm.
it feels different from when you wanted a mutually beneficial relationship,
Yeah.
that without a bad intention, and it goes wrong. At least you say to yourself, you know what, I wanted the best, but I've been treated badly, so
Mhm.
I haven't found myself wanting in this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
For whatever reason they've done what they've done, so let it be.
Yeah.
Everybody gets rewarded for what they've done anyway.
Yeah.
So you move on with your life.
That's it. That's it. Awesome stuff. Awesome. And the next one is self-centeredness, and I think that is one that I guess each and every one of us, we always have to continue um, to monitor, because everything that I do, because one way to overcome self-centeredness is to try to see things from other people's perspective,
Yeah,
because if I always I mean, I have to always ask myself, what if I put myself in that person's shoes? You know, see things from their perspective, because it's easy. It's so sometimes it's easy to be swallowed by just being self-centered, and like and in
Yeah.
making things to be all about me, all about me, 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 me. But
Yeah.
the reality of it, if if I ever want to work in a team, I have to make sure that I'm not a person that is self-centered. You have to make sure that you're not a of the person that is the self-centered, um, because that's basically selfishness, isn't it? Because and I think that will especially become a challenge when you have to operate in a team. I mean, even just asking yourself a question: what is the most challenging thing for you about seeing other people's perspectives? Why is it so hard for you? Why is it so hard for me to see things from other people's perspective? Because if you can answer that question, um, then maybe it goes deeper than just being uh, self-centered. Maybe there's maybe some kind of insecurity that you and I have to deal with. Maybe uh, it might just come back to fear. Maybe there's something that you're scared of. That's why you're being self-centered.
Yeah.
Uh, Whatever the case might be. But I think it does require some form of reflection, because if I'm um, maybe I don't have the confidence to say that um, uh, you, I what I have belongs to me in terms of my gifts and my talents and all of that. So which means I don't have to feel like I have to prove myself. I don't have to feel like I have to show off in any way.
Yeah.
Because if I want to draw attention to myself all the time, it means that there is something that is out of balance. Something is out of
Fundamentally.
sync.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things and that can destroy relationships. That can cause us to fail to understand people. So I don't know if you have any thought on that, sir.
No, that's I mean, you've finished that point. So it will be injustice if I choose to add anything to very interesting perspective.
Awesome, awesome. All right, the next one is a failure to appreciate differences. uh, I think the strength of any team lies in the fact that we are all different. The strength in any team is knowing that what you are bringing to the table is different from what I'm bringing to the table. Um, and remember, now we are asking why we fail to understand people. Um, is the fact that you just need to come to the conclusion that people are different from you. They don't think like you. Um, they don't sound like you. Um, Maybe the best way to put it is the reason why you have teamed up is because maybe your principles lined up, and the thing that you're working on is there's some kind of a, a link there. But I have to understand that Chidozi you are different from me. I have to understand that you have to understand that I'm different from you. And and I think the danger of that is that if somebody don't sound like me, or they don't do a thing like the way I'm doing it, um, you let's talk about it from a team perspective. Because the reason why people are different from me or different from you is so that they can fill the gaps where I'm falling short, or fill the gap where you falling short.
Yeah.
But if we don't appreciate people's differences, it's like, let's use the example of an orchestra. It's the very fact that the trumpet, the drum, the guitar, the piano, all of those things, they are. they have the unique sound, and they have the unique strength within its own right. When it's played on its own, but when it comes together, the piano does not lose its individuality. It does not lose its sound. But when it comes together, the harmony that goes with that, it even makes a more beautiful sound. Um, and I think if we understand that you sound different from me, I sound different from you, but when we come together, oh my goodness, we can move mountains.
Yeah.
Why
See?
is that? Because uh, it is just better for. We can use even the scripture where he's talking about one can put 1,000 to flight, but two can put 10,000 to flight. There's a very scripture, I think we mentioned that even last week or week before, because there is strength in unity, but for us to be able to operate in unity, or for any team to be able to operate in unity, um, we have to understand that each and every one is unique, and we have to embrace
Yeah.
that difference. We have to embrace that uniqueness.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me see. Monet is hard. Let's see. But it's hard to be number two because most of us want to be. It's hard to be number two because everybody wants to be number one. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I think honestly, the way I'm looking at it, it's a brilliant point that you're putting there, Mr. Rabi. But I think everyone has an opportunity to be number one. You know why that is? Because the minute you step into your strength, the minute you step into your strength, you become the number one. You become the expert. You become the one that everybody's attention is on because we recognize that within this area, you are number one. And I think that's kind of like the perspective we should have um, uh, on whether number one, number two. Why is that? Because each and every one of us have some that bring something to the table. It's like I've heard somebody mentioning a story about the way I don't know if it's goose or geese, ducks when they fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, um, they fly in a certain sequence. I don't know if you've seen how they. It's like
Yeah.
they come in kind of like a V,
Yeah.
because the way they
Right.
fly, because it gives them a better. They fly faster when they
Yeah.
in a certain
Right.
position. But there's always one that is leading. But the one that is leading is not the one that leads all the time.
Always.
De-
Yeah.
Depending on the weather, or but depending on where it is that they're going, they will
Hmm.
have to switch around
Yeah.
because the one will be able to lead better in certain circumstances. The other one will be able to lead better in another circumstances. So, which means if we can see things from that perspective, then then we will be able to embrace each other's differences. Another one here, Mr. Rabi, everyone knows. Uh, let's see. Everyone knows the lead singer, but nobody knows the backup singer in the band. Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. So let's shut down the backup singer. Let's shut down the band. Let's hear how the guy will do a cappella.
Mm. Yeah.
Let's hear if you will be able to do a cappella in the same way.
Yeah.
I think this is really crucial because sometimes we sabotage ourselves because maybe we were this far from success, whatever it looks like for you. But because I failed to understand that people are different and we need to be able to appreciate and to embrace those differences instead of fighting it, instead of being feeling like I'm in competition. No, we are not in competition. And I think this is very important for men especially to understand because um, you have this thing where the alpha you know, and sometimes one's voice wants to be louder than the other person's voice, but I think that is that is more that's got more to do with insecurity, because you feel like you are in competition and you need to prove yourself. But as soon as you step into that zone and feel like you need to prove yourself to outdo somebody else, to say that no, yeah, I'm taking the lead, then we already, as a team, you're already going into a in the wrong direction. So I don't know if you wanted to add something on that. That's appreciate differences.
No, absolutely. It's very, 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 very important.
Mm.
As you were speaking there, something came to mind, and that's the toolbox. It's a very crazy question to ask a plumber or a mechanic and
Yeah.
say, which tool would you pick? And you think you have everything if you
Mm.
want to fix a car. We are all tools that are required to accomplish things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have to understand the theory of the toolbox. So, a screwdriver is very good at screwing things,
Mm.
whereas a spanner is very
Yeah.
good at removing knots.
Yep.
And that's how it works. And it doesn't mean that the screwdriver, because it's used more often, is better than the spanner. It doesn't mean that the welding cylinder that you use to weld things together when you want to put things together is less
Hmm.
important because you use it once in a while. No. But when you have that full tool
Yeah.
as a tradesman, even in your life, we've talked about, different attributes and so on, different skills that we need to succeed in life. It's
Mm.
the same way that we need all those things coming together.
Yep.
We've talked about an orchestra as well. We
Yep.
all need all those things coming together for us to achieve success.
Yep.
But once we begin to feel that we are more important, for
Yeah.
example, there's one guy who is at the gate making sure that the place is secure,
Yep.
that the right person comes in, the wrong person doesn't come in. And
Hmm.
what that person is doing is to try and maintain peace
Hmm.
and order in the place. And what that peace and order does for the people who work in the company is
Hmm.
it allows them to focus and
Hmm.
be highly productive so
Yep.
that the company will continue to give results.
Yeah.
So, how is it that his job is less important?
Yeah.
The coffee lady or the tea lady
Yep.
there, you and I know when you need a coffee, you need it now. You know that at that point,
Yep.
this is all you need. Even if you need to sign a £1 million deal and you need to make sure you scrutinize everything. Sometimes
Hmm.
the meeting has gone on for too long and you now want something
Hmm.
to give you that kick so that you can do a good job. Who do
Yep.
you need? It will be that person that is making coffee and making teas and making sure that those things are there. If that person is not there, you won't have the coffee. He
Yep.
doesn't care about your million or not million. He's got
Yep.
a job. But it takes recognition of the fact that we are all parts of the toolbox that God is using to do work in this world. And when we begin to recognize that, then we'll be willing to present ourselves, even if we are being presented as the best tool for
Yeah.
sweeping, the best tool
Yeah.
for washing up, the best tool for cleaning. It does not matter.
Mhm.
All we need is just to be that tool that the Lord has made us to. And before we know it, you see so many things aligning, and people will look at you and go, wow. And then suddenly somebody's saying, oh, you know, when when my son was going to university, this boy was going to an apprenticeship to be a chef. And my son is now an engineer. And my son is now an engineer. And, you know, he's a chef.
Mm.
And the thing, sorry, I'm just giving my son a sign. And the
Oh.
thing that matters there is this person that became a chef, now suddenly he has a TV show. Yeah?
Yeah.
Your son, who is an engineer, is on 80,000.
Mm.
The TV chef just signed 1.2 million
Wow.
contract just to present how to cook food.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that
Yeah.
brings to mind how we must always be in the space that God has created us to be in,
Yeah.
and also understand that everybody will not be the same type of tool.
Yeah.
And when we understand that, wherever and whenever we are called, present the best version of ourselves
Mm.
to represent in that space.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I like what you're saying there. It's about finding your space. It's about finding your place because um, it's kind of like, yeah, it takes you back to being in a church environment.
Yeah,
Uh, the challenge of how the hierarchy.
yeah,
I don't even usually like to talk about these things, but it's just the
yeah.
reality of it, isn't
There
it?
is, yes, yeah,
Where there's the elevation of certain people,
mm,
and then the guy that's standing at the door greeting, he
yeah,
just seeing like a little boy,
yeah,
just, or the person that is, like you say, the person that is bringing the water, the person that's bringing the
yeah,
tea there, compared to the person that is bringing the word or preaching. Obviously, we give honor where honor is due,
mhm,
but we still have that kind of, but because we're supposed to function as a body,
yeah,
supposed to function as a unit,
mm,
and everyone plays a part.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like, how much of um, opportunities we miss out on when we don't operate as a unit. We
yeah,
call ourselves an organization, we call ourselves a club, we call ourselves, but the thing is, everybody wants to fight for that position. Everybody wants to fight for that place because it looks more
yeah.
glamorous.
Like it's the glamorous one.
Exactly. But now, just for example, but usually it is the hidden parts,
Mm,
the parts that you and I don't see,
yes,
that keeps the body alive.
yes,
The heart, you can't see the heart,
no,
but you ignore the heart and say the heart is not important. You ignore the brain and say the brain is not important. And
mhm.
then we'll see what happens, how that body comes, it just dies out.
No,
But
absolutely, absolutely. But let me just cover one thing before. Apologies for cutting you. You know, when you said give honor to where honor is due,
hmm,
and that's one thing that gets me when it comes to church hierarchy and everything.
hmm,
Jesus clearly defined what leadership is. There was a squabble between the disciples, if you remember,
hmm,
and they were talking about who is going to be the leader. So when we're talking of honoring, we have to honor the leader. And look
hmm.
at Jesus' definition of the leader. He said the one who is going to serve most
That's it.
is going to be the leader.
Hmm,
The
hmm.
one who is going to serve most
Yeah,
is going to
yeah.
be the leader. Now,
Hmm,
when you come to a church and you look at the jobs that's there to do, which which one will you call the most? You know, because we can all read the Bible, we can all pray, and the Holy Spirit can talk to us.
hmm,
And if they line up jobs in a church and they say, um, there's one for the preacher, the pastor,
hmm,
there's one for the usher, there is one for the cleaners of the toilet when the service is going on, there is one for the people securing the premises while others are worshiping. Which one do you think people will queue more to do?
yeah, that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
That is an
So,
interesting
so,
question.
so the one that people will queue more to do is
Hmm,
not that one that is the most.
hmm,
It's not where you serve the most. Where you serve the most is where you are at that point of sacrifice. I know it's out of line with what we're discussing today, but it's very
hmm,
crucial that we understand that as we
hmm.
grow in our Christian life, which is sacrificial, which is similar to Jesus leaving his kingdom above
Yeah,
and coming down to die for us. Is
yeah.
similar to leaving your comfortable seat in church, whether as a pastor preaching or as a church member listening, and going and making sure, for example, that
Hmm,
the kids are well looked after. Even though there is nothing really going on about God in where they are, they're just shouting and
hmm.
jumping up and down, probably in their group, making sure that nobody comes into the church while others are worshiping, and
Yeah.
making sure the toilets are clean, just in case somebody needs it.
Hmm,
Making sure all those things are made available, and making sure that there are, what people need in church. Now you are removing yourself from where you are receiving that word. You are supposed to be comfortable and focusing and listening and trying to grab what the Lord has to say about you today. You see, that's very attractive. But the most, serving the most,
Mm,
is abandoning all these things and making it happen for
mm,
everybody else in that
yeah,
environment.
yeah.
And that's who the leader is.
That's right. That's right. And Monet says, "Yeah, well said, Chidozi." That's why number two is important because it's
Yeah,
serving. It's
yeah,
serving. It comes down to service, isn't it? Because, and I think, and when it comes to people, look at this. They need to put the list in a hat. You mean we need to do some drawing, Mr. Ravi? We need to like
yeah,
close the
yeah,
eyes and draw. Okay, what do you want to
yeah,
do? Yeah, yeah, and I think that's kind of like what it comes down to, isn't it? Because I think whenever it comes to people, whenever it comes to where people are involved,
mm,
uh, your job and my job is to serve. It's for us to, uh, if we call ourselves the leaders, is we are supposed to be the ones um, that give people the advantage, that
yeah,
do the sacrifice in terms of adding value and making a difference to their lives. And I think because the whole thing of leader is so warped, it's so messed up in the way we. I heard somebody say something very interesting the other day. About a politician. I know it's becoming like all over the place today. We went from the chess up to
yeah,
politics, but the way he was putting it was because as politicians they're supposed uh, to serve. But how do you serve if you kind of like at a place where you put your own interests? It's about you putting your interests first instead of looking after the people. So the whole thing is kind of like turned upside down. But I think we have to have a clear picture of what does it really look like to to serve people, and kind of like just to come back to what it is we're talking about, is why we fail to understand people is because uh, there are there are certain things that we have to be clear on, uh, which was the first one, uh, was fear. um, uh, that's why we fail to understand people. The other one was being self-centered. The third one was failure to appreciate differences. The next one that I quickly want to touch on before we conclude is failure to acknowledge similarities. Because sometimes what we do, we focus more on our differences. We're focusing more on what. Yes, it's important to know that we are different, and acknowledge that we don't operate in the same way, and there's some strength that you have which I don't have, and weaknesses and all of these kind of things. But even more important, so is like what similarities is there, what can we focus on, um, that will help me to let me put it like this. He says here to foster understanding. Think of what your emotions would be if you were in the same position as the person you are interacting with. Because sometimes when we have a conflict, when we have a misunderstanding, the only thing that we focus on is what we're not agreeing on. But the truth of the matter is, we might be disagreeing on one thing, but we agree on three things. But the thing that we have a misunderstanding about, and we're having a conflict about, is the thing that we're having a quarrel about. And that kind of like not is not getting us anywhere with people. And I think when we're at a place where we're always in conflict with people, where we always feel like there is strife, where we always feel like I would have loved to work with you, but it seems like you're always going the opposite direction. I'll see you, bro. But that's not. But rather find, what it is that 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 brings us together. And I think that's really crucial because it's not so much. Um, because let's conclude. we are different from one another, and the thing that will be amplified is the thing that we are focusing on. So instead of focusing on the thing that we not agreeing on, let's find what it is that we are agreeing on. So that I can see things from your perspective, and maybe you can see things from my perspective. And I think that's very important because sometimes a relationship crumbles just because of something that could have been overcome by just, all right, let's agree to disagree, but at least let's continue to move forward. I don't know if you have any thought on that, sir.
No,
Uh,
that's absolutely right. And it's very easy to think that you remember everything, but this one is a very very big one that we all forget, and
yeah.
especially when things go wrong, when you're talking about results or when outcomes are not as expected.
Mm,
But what's very very important is that the foundation of every relationship is very very clearly defined. There has got to be a single purpose,
mm,
and that purpose may not be the exact purpose that makes that aligns my need in the relationship and your need in the relationship,
mm,
whatever type of relationship. It might be one that is, a canopy or an umbrella that is covering whatever it is that is there. So that means that at some stage I might be pursuing something that falls under that canopy, and
mm,
you are pursuing something that's still under that canopy. But my blindness or my naivety towards the way that you're going
mm,
and my self-centeredness will make me
mhm,
think that it's my way or no other way. And there's a place, I think it's in Philippians or so, where the Bible talks about always preferring one another.
mm, mm,
We find ourselves where if there is profit to be made, if there's opportunity to be had, that we prefer that the other person has it,
mhm,
you know. So there are so many ways that we can manifest our gifts and
mhm,
our callings as Christians.
mhm.
And you think when you go to the Bible, when Jesus says, oh, I've come to bring life and life more abundantly,
Yeah,
that might mean something different for you, and that might mean something different for me.
yeah,
Some people, for them to live abundant life, for some people now is to find food to eat. But for
yeah,
some others, their abundant life will come from being rescued from drug addiction. You see,
yeah,
they have all the monies that they can get. They can even afford the drugs. But
yeah,
the abundant life is coming from being set free from that bondage.
mhm,
Whereas for some others, they just want somewhere to live, a
yeah,
shelter. That's abundant life to them. So in a relationship, when there is that pursuit that is different from what we are pursuing, all we need to check is that pursuit pure?
yeah.
Is it aligned to the foundation of any of that relationship? If
That's
it
it.
is, then it's very important that we, look at that point of convergence and understand that, even though there are areas of differences, we cannot let that overshadow the fact that we are similar in so many ways, whether it's in intentions, in goals or desires or
Yeah,
outcomes that we
mhm.
see.
Absolutely. Very well said, sir. Very well said. Um, well, this is bringing us to the top of the hour. It looks like my goodness, like I was like looking. Really, time just went so quickly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
listen, yeah, gentlemen. I think this is really something that we will continue to dig into over the next few weeks because if we are building a life and not just building a life but building a life that is successful, um, these are key areas because success, as I've mentioned earlier, is that people are key to our success. And it's not just kind of like from a business perspective or if I'm trying to get ahead. It's knowing how to deal with your relationship with your family and all of this. uh, because obviously if that starts falling apart, because this kind of understanding or the information that we are uh, just putting out here and the conversation that we're having does it covers all kind of relationships. um, so over the next few weeks we're just going to continue to dig into what does it look like for us to continue to build a life um, that we can be proud of, a life that once you and I can identify what success looks like, and then continue to push towards that by applying these different principles. All right. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Mr. Rabi, thank you so much for your time, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Mr. Hess, as always, sir,
Thank
uh,
you.
appreciate you coming out and being here. And at least I'm not talking to myself.
No, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
so
Going to
so
sharpen the irons.
yeah, so let's do this again next week, and have an amazing week, guys. All right, see you soon, and
Fantastic. All right. Thank you,
love to
guys.
the families. All right,
God
cheers.
bless you. Bye
Bless.
bye.
Bye bye. Bye.